they don't know anything about it, and you just want to like have someone explain to you what's going on, right? So the agent can actually look at the file you're getting starting point, but then also find other files nearby directly, and sometimes also even further, to find related things that give us context of explaining kind of what's happening in a package or a package tree. So in this case, the agent has found everything nearby to explain that data file. And as you can see, it's kind of printing and printing, and it shows you what it's looking at, to give you insight into how it's working. In here, it's found a few related files to main.java, and it's reading them. And then in the second here, let's see the agent print a short summary of what's happening. This is a relatively simple, kind of simple starter project, but just to illustrate some of the before. So, should be a second here. The big model. There we go. So then, here's the model printing a summary of what it thinks is going on in the package. And of course, you can ask follow-up questions, and the model, again, is a partner to help you understand and work with code. So, even though you know how to kind of ask the model about code, that's great, it's really helpful, but the real power of Spider Agent is to help you write code and automate some repetitive tasks. So let's say in this package we have a main.java file, and we started in the model like this, like there's car.java and cfob and Java interface and some other things. So let's say we have this task now in this new directory needs us to add a drive method to the car file. So we give a prompt. So this prompt is kind of going to be detailed. It's not just add a drive method. Just like any other prompting problem, the more unambiguous your prompt is, and the more detailed you can make it, the better the model response will be. So, think of this as just somebody who doesn't themselves have context on the code you're working on. So the more detailed it can be, the more effective it will be. When the model applies that, which we'll see in a second, the sections that are modified will be highlighted in green. Okay, so it's like this. And you'll have this UI in Spider to review different credits and then accept or reject the code changes that the model proposing. Let's hop into another short recording. So here we have that main.java file, and we have this the drive message is applied to send destination, and the drive message is only what the file. So even just starting from the main file, the agent is able to look up the car Java file, and the cfob, and it goes, and here we are. So here it opens the car file to let me know, hey, I've modified this file. And then it added this function to the bottom. And so it's highlighted in green, again, to draw attention to what it's done. And there's this accept file, reject file UI at the bottom where you can choose what you want to do with what the model's proposing. In this case, it's also going to kind of guess that hey, it would be useful if they added something to main that calls drive. So the model is taking a little creative liberty and passed the moon to car.drive in the main file. And so when it's done that, now we have multiple files that have been modified by the model. So down here in the input place, you can select this as UL button so you get this nice UI that summarizes all the changes the model's made to all different files. And you can either choose to accept all or reject all at once. Alternatively, it's a little bit hard to see in the header of each file or each file, so you can see icons. There's a check mark to accept the edits to individual files one at a time if you don't want to assign multiple files. I think you can just pass the rest of it. Oh, yeah. So once you accept the changes, then you'll see the diff goes away, the code looks normal now because it's applied to the file. So, we've made a simple change to a file, and now we need to test it. Same idea as before. You can ask the model to add a unit test, and it'll write some code. The main difference is you can also prompt the model to execute the unit test and verify that they actually pass. So sometimes the model will guess if you add a unit test, it'll say, oh, it's probably what the unit test and all run it. But if you're explicit to add a unit test and make sure it passes, the model will run the test. Unlike with code, or rather, until the code is built in the model actually hasn't been able to verify whether the code works, right? It's pretty smart, but just like a human, it can make errors, or maybe it's on a piece of open code in the test that prevents the test from passing. So it's possible that the model regression testing will fail. In this case, the model will probably take another step automatically, debug why the test is failing, and then either make changes to the test, or in some cases just write it in the code under test until the test falls. This could take a few iterations depending on the complexity of the code. And so one thing I want to call out here is the model is only allowed to take so many steps on its own before the pause. And kind of wait for a human to verify, yes, this is going down the right path. It's doing the right thing, but I want to keep going. In this case, we're going to press this is being passed button. So if you're using an agent to do something complicated, don't just like hit the prompt and go launch, because it'll probably run for a couple minutes and then make you to confirm it's doing the right thing. Okay, so here's a recording of asking the model to write some unit tests. It's going to be very similar to the writing code example. It looks for a file. In this case, there's no actual car test file, so the model's going to creating the car test file. I wasn't specific enough in my prompt to tell the model where I wanted it to go, so the model's actually placing that test file in the same directory as the car file. And with a better prompt, could move it to a Java test file. But in any case, the model will create that test file for me. It will add the build rules for it so that the test is runnable. And then here it actually calls the new test target that it created to verify that the test passed. In this recording, the test passed in the first step. This is not a very complex function, but that won't always be the case, and then you'll see the model will kind of take multiple passes until the test is passed. It's just the target succeeded, and the model tells us what it did. So no recording for this one. I just want to highlight that you could ask the model to add the drive message and a test for it and run the test all in one prompt. The model is agentic. It can do handle some pretty complex sequence of tasks. So try to these together. Just again, hang out with it and make sure you test the zone if you think it's doing a good job and asking for when it asks for confirmation. Okay, then let's also talk about some other common development steps. So documentation, planning, that kind of thing. You can ask the model to generate Java for tasks, or outside of Java, like any language describing what code is doing. The model's really good at reading code and putting it into natural language, so this is one of my favorite tasks to use the model for, especially for kind of repetitive Java stuff that feel like tedious, right? So one thing I want to highlight with this recording though, back up a little bit. So here I have the two files open, but there are more files in this open credit in the workspace. So by default, if you ask something kind of general, like add Java docs, the model will look at the files that you told it to, and you tell it to look at files using context down here in the file. So I mentioned before that the current file is always selected for context. You can also add additional files. So files you have open in separate tabs might be suggested as tips here, and so here I've selected car test, and it's offering the build and main as things I can add explicitly. I mean, it's already added, but in any case, if you want to bulk add files, you can press this add context button. So what this will let you do is explicitly tell the model, I want to add all the open files that have my workspace as context, or add some specific list of files or directories as context. And this gives you more like something when you add Java docs, so these are probably the files that I want to add Java docs to. So here I'm going to add all open files in my workspace. You can see that now it has this open file tip. So add Java docs. And now the model will actually go find all the Java files that are open, as you expect, and add Java docs to all of them. So if we skip forward, we'll see adding some Java docs, and oh boy, those sure are Java docs. So you can review and accept those, and save yourself some time. So I don't have a recording for this one either, but like beyond, you can also automate other things, and especially things that where the task is kind of understanding what's going on in a package or in a project, and then explaining it in natural language. So using the model as a partner by asking it to help like plan a topic for a package can be really useful. You can ask it to write a movie file, and you can even use it for things like drawing flow diagrams. This is something that can use to visualize how files relate to each other. This can be really helpful. Ask it to draw a dot diagram or illustrate it. So play with that. You can ask the model to help you. To the best of my knowledge, this might have changed recently, but the model doesn't actually submit code or send it out for review for you. But you can ask it to write like change descriptions summarizing what's happened in the CL, so that you can save yourself the time kind of recapping what you've done for the code reviewer. So try that as well. Yeah, and so that's a really high-level overview of the kinds of things you can do with Firebase in your daily work. I do want to mention that I think later in the week we have another kind of presentation, maybe from Chris, about some more advanced things you can do with the agent. So stay tuned for that if you want to see some more kind of involved use cases. But anyway, key takeaways. Again, the Cider agent is a participant in your coding. It's not a replacement for an engineer, and also not, but it's also not just a chatbot. So really kind of treat it like a partner, and you can get a lot out of it. Kind of hammer home again, effective confidence key here, just like writing research. Obviously, I'm not going to spend infinite on quality for individual prompts for part of the developer workflow, but just keep in mind general best practices for making perspective when working with the agent. If you're, we have a Gemini CLI talk next, so I'm going to skip over that, but if you are making large scale changes, there's kind of a similar agent tool, Philo, so check that out if that applies to you. And then the last point that I want to kind of make here is that this is, like every day these tools get better, like week over week and month over month, the models get stronger. Everyone's working really hard across the company to make AI tools more and more powerful. So try it out. Some things will look great. Some things will look great. Sometimes they'll do fun and they won't do what you want. Or you'll be dissatisfied with the results, even though it's being technically correct. Whatever the case is, you're getting better all the time. So if you try it today and it's not perfect, I strongly encourage you to try it again in a month. Maybe it'll be better. Okay, if you do run the code up, you can open up the cleanup script and different directories. If you want to get a peek at some more advanced Cider agent techniques and controls, then take a look at go.ai Cider agent.